Why bodybuilding?
Where hormones start kicks in and you're thinking about girls more than you're thinking about food.
I need to do something about this.
He literally called me fat.
And get into the discipline of doing it.
Most of the time we're actually trying to survive, yeah?
Gym people after Christmas, but then by February the gym's half empty.
It's motivation. Afterwards, it's a discipline.
So why do we have all these things with like low fat?
The drinking water, as you mentioned, yeah, it's quite boring.
You know, protein is protein.
Very clever.
Hello and welcome to the Genuine Fake podcast. Today we're going to go a little bit off kilter because if you want to play sports, you need to be fit. So I've got one of my colleagues here, Ihor, who's going to talk us through his fitness journey. Welcome, Ihor. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate for having me here. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much for being here. So should we start straight away with how did you get into fitness? How did you start? Because, you know, lots of people have different reasons. So what was yours? What made you think I need to get fit? I need to train.
So before deep dive into my story, first I want to tell you a little bit about my background.
Okay.
So
that would be a good start because we don't know who you are. Well, I do.
So I was born in the small village in Ukraine, about like 80 miles from Kiev. And up to probably 15 or 16 years, I have nothing to do with sport. I haven't been training. Yeah. Most of the time we're actually trying to survive. Yeah. Which by definition means staying quite active. Yeah.
The wild boars were chasing you.
Exactly.
Your village is just north of Kiev?
Yeah. It's, as I said, 80 miles.
80 miles north
80 miles north of Kiev. Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. When I turned like 17, that's when my hormone starts to kick in, and that's the.
So you never did anything before 17?
Nope, at all.
At school, like play football or did you have sports at school? Did you go to school?
Yeah. I've been there twice. I didn't like it. I've been there twice, didn't like it. So obviously we had like a normal activity in the school, etc. But it wasn't something which I really enjoyed, to be honest.
Okay. Academic, you were more academic then? Were you more focused on academics, or was it just the survival was the main focus at this time?
It was.
I know we're laughing, but it's not really that funny because
it is. I'm looking at that.
It's funny afterwards.
Yeah.
In hindsight.
Yeah.
But what would you said your main focus was? Just survival then? That was why.
Yeah.
So 17 going, sorry.
So it was a quite tough background, to be honest.
So what happened at 17?
That's where normally where hormones start kicks in and you're thinking about girls more than you're thinking about food. I know. I'm late with
You're
everything.
Late bloomer. Okay.
Yeah, late with everything. So, at that stage, you have quite a few options. So the first one, you can born rich and handsome, yeah, and that works that's international, yeah, like you, and that works internationally across all borders.
That's global.
Exactly, yeah. And the second option was to basically become a bigger, stronger person to attract more girls. And with my background, as I said, I had only option 2.
So you had no choice.
Yeah, at all, yeah.
But there's still people who have no choice who don't take that step.
Yeah.
Because the third option, you just be lazy. You carry on as you are and blame everybody else.
Obviously, your action, how you react on the environment is divide people from active and divide people onto active and passive.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where my fitness journey began, and I couldn't call it fitness journey completely because I was training. You see, when I'm recalling this time, I'm smiling a little bit because it was a completely different gym from what we have in now. We have, beautiful fitness lights, green, blue, etc. Everything is so perfect. Yeah, I had back in the day really raw, old school gym. I've got a few local welders, who made the state-of-art equipment, which you can't. You think about that. You have today, it feels like you've got a diversity of the exercise, different gym equipment, etc. But in fact, they are all pretty much the same. when people do something what they really love, you can get a really, really nice result. And those welders I actually trained. So they created like a hack squad, the gym, the bench press equipment, etc.
So it was equipment made with love.
Exactly.
And experience.
Yeah, yeah.
Just roll back though, because obviously if you start like fitness journey, there can be, why not go into sports? Because from yours, we'll just put in case anybody hasn't picked up, is you went to the bodybuilding, for those of you just listening, not watching. But why not look into other sports? How come we just went to bodybuilding? Because you can play football outside, you can do basketball, you need a court and other things. There's swimming, there's lots of huge variety of sports. So how come you fell into bodybuilding?
I was really into the football on the very, very beginning. I was really into football, but I just didn't. It wasn't especially like basketball. I played probably 2 times, in my life.
You're vertically challenged, for basketball.
Didn't like that at all. So it just turns out that it suits me, and despite the fact it wasn't my thing from the very, very beginning. So I trained probably once in 2 weeks or once in 3 weeks. That's already gave me like a boost and confidence, into myself. So I wasn't excluding the other activities outside, like football, etc. I was reading books about football even. I was really like into it. But,
well, the reason I asked that is because obviously Ukraine is quite, they did quite a lot of good football teams. The Shakhtar Donetsk, Dynamo Kiev, and there's probably a few more. So it's quite big there. So that is obviously it's the most popular sport in the world. That's why I ask, because you can start training. But did you start training to make yourself look good, or did you start training? Because some people start training to get fitter to do player sports, if you see what I mean. So was yours more like, because I want to have a body like this, the motivation, or was it down the, I want to get strong enough to, because you can lift for strength as well as, bodybuilding. So why bodybuilding?
My motivation, as I said, was to attract basically girls. That's what hormones dictates you. Exactly. That wasn't like it was unconscious.
So it wasn't your brain that was picking this.
It was unconscious. Exactly. It was unconscious choice. Exactly. Yeah, that's what happened to me.
Okay, no problem. I was just clarifying for anybody who's listening. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's as I mentioned, it was sort of like a background activity. Sometimes it can be once a month or something like that. So it wasn't the main. It was existing somewhere on peripheral in my life. And after school, I entered our local university in Chernihiv, Polytechnical University. Mm-hmm. And I was really, as you mentioned, into academic stuff. Mm-hmm. That's another way how to be.
So you're a geek.
Yeah, exactly.
Good.
Yeah.
Good man.
How to be attractive to girls. You can be smart also.
It helps.
It is. But I found out about that a little bit later, and that's where the things started getting interesting. So it was a case in my life where everything changed. I didn't know it back in the day. In Ukraine, we've got a quite diverse weather, so we can have plus 30, we can have minus 30.
You mean, let's just put it really, Britain doesn't really have weather. Ukraine has real weather, everywhere else in the world. Yeah. What you mean is it's diverse, but it's normal.
So it exists, it's a thing there.
Britain is just meh. Yeah. Maybe one hot day, one really cold day, but it's meh. Yeah, you have like minus 10 does it go to, I think, and it can go to like plus 40-ish.
On the second year of my education, I remember we had a temperature minus 31.
That's proper cold. But that's not normal, is it?
No.
So normally it's up to
10, 15, probably.
Minus 10 or 15. Mm-hmm. But you have snow, it's a proper winter. And then in summer, it's like plus 30-ish.
32.
30. Yeah, so it's not overly, the cold is cold. But, so you're used to real weather, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
But minus 31?
Yeah.
Proper cold.
Yeah.
So for people who moan in Britain, you don't know what cold is.
Yeah, exactly.
Go on, carry on.
So as everybody else during that hot time, we are going to the beach. We've got a small river there called the Sna, and it's a thing there.
The Golden Beach.
Golden Beach, exactly. It's
like Miami, but better.
It's a way better. It's
at least according to Normal.
Yeah, exactly. So on one of these leisure days when I went to the beach, what's happened, I met a friend of mine from the village, from my background, which I mentioned, I'm trying to anonymize him as much as possible, so let's call him Jack. Yeah, I met a Jack
proper
from
Ukrainian name.
Yeah. Jack.
Can't we just call him Ivan? 'Cause that's like a proper criminal name.
Yeah, like a Jack Stepanenko. Let's call him Jack Stepanenko.
Okay.
So we had a just ordinary chat, and in the end of the conversation, he basically said, "You, Igor, you gain quite a lot of weight," and that's a really polite way.
Were those the words he used, or did he just call you fat?
Yeah, he literally called me fat. Yeah, that's exactly what's happened. And
say that in Ukrainian, just so I know for future reference.
Товстий капець просто. Товстий. Let's call it товстий. Yeah,
okay,
товстий.
So obviously that must have done something to you.
Huh?
That must have done something to your head.
Yeah. So I will describe everything in detail what's happened to me at that stage.
Okay.
So that's the stage where your mental health and your body are completely divorced. You know, like in the childish cartoon, when you have small people in your head reacting on external situation, when they click in the button, smile, cry, etc.
So you're not the only. I'm not the only one with voices in my head.
No.
It's everybody.
No.
Okay.
If it's still going, you have to speak to doctor. Right.
I'm making a point.
So basically, inside, I've got in my brain the small guy who was clicking like, keep smiling like that, nervous, keep smiling, and
Should
then
we call him Andriy?
Yeah, whatever. And second button, just don't kill him. Don't kill him. You have a whole life in front of you.
We'll call him Sergey.
Yeah, exactly. So that's Sergey. Yeah. So that's basically what's happened to me, and it affects me quite significantly, because when I got back to home, I look at myself in the mirror, and when I was going to the gym, I was absolutely fine. Body type was absolutely fine. I was happy with my life. Everything was so smooth. And once I returned from the beach, I'm like, okay, Jack, I know what you're talking about now. I see that.
Do you think he was just saying as in like in a nice way, or purposefully to kick your butt a bit to get you going, or just as an observation?
Yeah, I don't think it was just the
he
thing.
Wasn't thinking, just saying as an observation.
Under different context, under different situation, it won't affect anybody at all. It's all psychology. Yeah, you can say even something which is not related to your view, but it actually acts as a trigger.
Okay.
So in that case,
so that was your trigger.
Yeah, exactly. So in my case, and from that, in everybody, I believe everybody has got this situation in their life when they have to. It doesn't matter, is it like external, like in my case, what I've experienced, or it's internal.
But before that, did you never question your body view? So if you looked in the mirror, did you ever think,
nope,
I need to change something here?
Nope.
Okay, so that was the trigger. That's what made you look and go, wait a minute.
Yeah,
I need to do
wait
something.
an hour, I would say.
Wait an hour.
We need to speak. Sit down, Igor.
Serious conversation with them.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
So that's what's happened
and then
to
what
me.
did you do?
Normally, you've got like 3 options. First, like your psychological profile allowed you to get along with any situation, and just occasionally it just arise this situation when when it's unconsciously affects either your attitude or your behavior. Yeah,
Okay.
it's something which happening on background.
Okay.
And the second option, when your brain is actually working way harder and when your brain dictates to produce a stress hormone, cortisol in this case.
Okay.
And cortisol, which with all these drawbacks, with the increase in heart rate, increasing blood sugar, increasing your blood pressure as well, increasing your blood sugar as well. So you are pretty much absolutely all time in the situation, fight or flight situation, which is extremely uncomfortable.
Well, that's what cortisol's for.
Exactly.
It's the safety sort of trigger, isn't it? So to protect you.
Yeah,
Or ancestors anyway.
it's a really nice survival hormone, but the spikes can be, spikes should be really high, but it shouldn't be constant. This situation is actually giving
it's
you
to solve a situation. It's a survival instinct, isn't it? When animals were near or something, when you're in danger.
Exactly, yeah.
The fight or flight kicks in, But you shouldn't have it for a long time, so go on.
Exactly. And the third option, it's exactly the same as the second option, but you actively doing some action. So your psychological profile dictates you, force you to do something to bring your mindset back to the comfort zone it was before.
Okay.
And that's what separates, as I said, active from passive, and winners from losers. It's action. It's a first action.
Okay.
So,
so what did you? That's a good explanation. But what did that in human speak? What did that do in common language? What did that happen? So not all of us could speak Ukrainian, like yourself, or English as well as yourself.
In simple words, that means that you have to change your habit. You have to go to gym. Well, that's, if we speak about my situation, in order to change your body type, body constitution, in order to make yourself happy, the way you look like.
So that event triggered that response in you. So you saw, I've got to do something here.
Yeah.
I've got to fix this. So it wasn't like, he's just speaking badly about me. I hate him. It was more like, okay, actually, what he's saying has made sense. Or did you still dislike him? Did you still want to knock his head off at that point?
No.
It was more like, actually, he's correct.
I'll tell you. The thing is that after a few years, it's off top a little bit, but few years afterwards, I met him in the village, and I bought him a drink. It's not like, I paid him with completely opposite. He already was drinking a beer or something like that. So I bought him a drink and I said, thank you. And he was like, what do you thank me for? Like, what is going on? And I just didn't explain anything. I just said, thank you. That's it. So even when something bad, or you think bad happens to you, at that point of time, it will make you stronger again if your psychological type is correct.
But I think if you look at that, it's not really a bad thing. He was just making an observation. If that's his motivation, just saying something, which you can do sometimes if people are just, if you're friends or whatever, you can just say the straight rather than having to be like tactful or polite. And then it's triggered it in you. So it wasn't really a bad event. It's just an event. If it's bad or good depends on you, how you take it. I think it's your perception of it. The actual event is just an event.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so you responded in a positive way. So what did you do then? So it kicked you for, wait a minute, I can't just go to the gym like when I feel like it, once a month, whatever it is. I need to do something about this. But so what did you do? Go on. Then. What did, from that day onwards, what was your plan? What did you do?
In order to describe this state, I will use word motivation.
Okay, so that was your motivation.
That was my motivation, despite the fact I really hate this word, because motivation by definition is temporary.
Yeah.
I'll explain why. Because motivation, it's a spike of hormones. We are getting now spike of hormones, dopamine, for instance, everywhere, all over the place, from TV, from alcohol, from social media.
Well, I think one of the big problems, and probably something we should do another topic on, is dopamine addiction, which is the swiping, watching things, all those. It's the short-term thing. I think, probably from mine, I'm a little bit older, so it's past a bit. But I think that's one of the things that concerns me about the children now, because it's so much a dopamine thing for them. They get disinterested in something really, really quick. But that's probably going off topic. So
problem, I will.
But we'll come back to yours. Your motivation kicker was this thing. So you've looked at it, you've taken it as a positive thing. At least that's what I'm thinking your story is going. So it's kicked you in the right way. Your hormones got you in the right place, rather than going down the path of eating ice cream and doing more and making it worse to fill that gap, to get that dopamine response. You've gone down the other one. So go and carry on with your story. So from that day forth, what was you made a plan? What did you do? So I think that's really interesting.
Back to the motivation, as I said, it's something temporary because it's a hormone spike. And the problem today I see is that people get this dopamine for absolutely free, and they get desensitized from from the activity, from anything which actually brings a dopamine. It's not bringing much joy now, And the word we should use is the discipline, because discipline is something which is independent from the motivation, independent from your hormone.
Motivation is just the starter. It's the kickstart, but you do need the motivation to get you going. So you got your motivation, and that was going to be my next steps. But is the motivation got you started? So you started going to the gym regularly, or?
Yeah.
Like, go on, tell us.
So I started from there 3 times per week. That's where I started. And my...
I take it at this time, this is still when you're 17, 18 years old? Or?
I was about probably 19, I think.
19. So you'd finished school, so you started, you said you started the university here.
Yeah.
So so is after university?
No, it was during the university. I was on 2nd or 3rd year of education.
No, but I mean, like when you were studying, was that all day? Was it like...
It's a full day.
So you're full day. So you're going before you went to university, or after, in the day before you started university for the day, or after you finished university for the day?
That's
or in between?
No.
Or is that going to get you in trouble? Should I shut up? No. At lunchtime or in lessons, I was in the gym.
I was training after university. Okay, yeah, and I started from the 3 days.
So 3 days. Okay.
Yeah, that was the very, very beginning. Just a second.
Any choice of the days, or it was making sure you were just I need to go 3 times a week?
3 times a week. That's the very first split everybody starts. And if you open start,
okay, go on. You're assuming here because you're a bodybuilder. So how did you get your first split? Or what is it? First, explain what is a split, and then how did you pick what you were going to do?
Split is basically when you divide the body parts by days when you're training and what you're training.
Okay.
I will get to that.
Okay, go on.
I will get to that.
Go on. So you've got something else to say in the middle. So go on. Your motivation and discipline is... So you got your motivation. So how did you get your discipline? Or is that what you're...
I think at that stage...
Jackson Stepanenko is the guy you've thanked already for the motivation.
He helped me. He helped me a lot.
He gave you the motivation kick. Go on.
I think at that stage, after a few years of training, you are getting used to it to the point when even during the days without sun, not sunny days, you are still going to the gym, which means then that when you're motivated, you will do like a way more work. But that became a part of your routine, which is independent from your hormones or state.
Okay.
It just became part of you, like having a meal. You are going to the gym. So, okay.
Go on. So you've got your motivation, and you're going to carry on. Okay.
So that's pretty much the story how I got into it. Yeah. Okay. And if I look back...
Thank you, Jackson Stepanenko.
Stepan, thank you very much. Okay. So that's how I got into the training. Yeah. And if I would start, reverse time back, and if I would start from the 3-day split. Yeah, for somebody who is like beginning and want to jump into this story, where I will train, let's say, Monday chest, Wednesday back, and legs on Friday.
Okay.
So as you see, I'm going completely different to the mainstreams today when they train in biceps, triceps, abs, etc., like into the split, because it's a small body part.
Well, I think there's some people who still say, like, you should start with like the compound type moves or moves for, bigger muscle areas. So that obviously legs is the biggest, then back, then chest. So, you can split them up. Is the legs on a Friday because you've got 2 days then of recovery for the legs, because obviously they're the bigger, more painful. There's a lot of gym bros who miss that day.
Yeah. Friday's empty.
Yes.
You have to go on your own from here, boy.
So go and expand on that a little bit. Why do you recommend that? Because obviously there's a lot of, one of the confusions if you're starting training or want to start is where do you start? Because, there's millions of ways of different things, different influences and people, everything, saying everything. So why do you recommend that 3-day split and that particular thing? What's your thinking behind it?
First of all, because it's a biggest muscle group.
Okay.
Yeah. The second thing, that legs is the biggest muscle group, and it's third from the heart. So physically you have to be...
Don't miss leg day. But go on, expand on why you should do more legs, because I think there's a lot of people who do, as we've said.
Physically, it's really hard. But what most important, it's really hard from your nervous system. And despite the fact that everybody's saying that, Monday is the International Leg Day, I don't think it's right, because your nervous system already hammered, and afterwards you are forcing it to work more. That's why I always shift, or trying to shift, legs to Friday, so you have a 2 full rest day, not even for your body, but for your nervous system.
Yeah.
That's very important, because you can't get the right sleep.
You need to get the proper recovery, isn't it? Because it's not just your muscles. It's like you've said, it's your central nervous system, which is the more bigger thing. Otherwise, you're just going to, then you're going to have that conversation between motivation and discipline. You're motivated, you do it 1 week, that's easy. Then the next, you got to do it the next week as well. And if you ain't got the discipline,
it's a marathon.
You're destroyed your
sprint.
discipline. Yeah. And okay, and then, so with that, what do you recommend?
Afterwards, after you will get used to it, at the very beginning, your body will respond really, really quick because you're
nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. So you will get a really good hormonal response. You will get a really good anabolic response. And at the very beginning, I would stick to this routine and I wouldn't change anything because you will get a really nice result. And by frequently changing something, you won't see this result.
So basically, what you're saying is commit to doing it. Yeah. Do it. Make sure you get your rest, the recuperation, but commit to doing it and get into the discipline of doing it. Is basically your advice.
I believe half a year is basically enough to get used to it. And afterwards, I would add like arms. When you do a pull day, you can add, for instance, your biceps because your biceps already pre-exhausted. Warmed up and pre-exhausted.
You're pre-exhausted, yeah.
So
if you've done your back day properly.
Yeah, exactly. And the good thing is that it's a fairly easy to get injury on the bicep. I know quite a lot of people who got injury on the biceps. Yeah, exactly. So if it's already pre-exhausted,
nice
at all,
have you seen that? I've seen somebody's arm when they've torn, and it's like
really
do it, and it's like this.
Blue.
Then they've shown me a picture the day after, and it's basically black and blue the whole arm. Horrible thinking about it. Yeah, go on.
It is. So that means that for smaller muscle group, if it's already pre-exhausted, you don't need a very heavy weight. You can take a lighter weight and still get really nice results.
So you're minimizing the chance of injury, but you're still giving it a good pump and a volume exercise rather than trying to go. The silly weights.
The other thing, you can add triceps to your chest workout for exactly the same reason, and shoulders to your leg workout. Okay.
But you'd say that's a second step. Really, first is the first part basically, like you said, if you were going to do it now, is that just to build that discipline, just the consistency of going to the gym and doing the exercises to basically get into a rhythm of doing it? Because obviously the biggest thing, and I've been doing this a lot, and I think a lot of people do is, well, there's going to be the time in a little bit, isn't it? Because you're going to have all those January gym people after Christmas, but then by February the gym's half empty. So
you need to make sure that I wouldn't recommend, and it will be, I think, controversial to most of the people. I wouldn't recommend to go to the personal trainer from the very, very beginning because you might spend quite a lot of money, and if you are not disciplined enough after half a year, you already know, will you keep doing that or will you skip leg day? Like it depends.
You haven't got because basically training, I think one of the biggest things, and I've sort of learned along the way, is it's commitment, isn't it? And that's what you're saying. So the first step of the journey, the first 6 months is, so it's not so much about the split other than they're the big muscle groups. You're going to notice an effect from training them. If you haven't done any training, you're going to get a kick because your body's, it's basically just going to get shocked into action going, whoa, what the hell's going on here? Okay, I need to do something. And you'll start hopefully building some muscle and stuff and getting stronger. But really that first step is about the commitment, being disciplined enough to keep going and doing it and stuff. Is there anything specific in the training, or is it just, do you think it's just turning up and doing a bit? Is it, because obviously you don't want to go in and be like, look at the people around in a new gym and you see all these animals, shall we say, beasts. And then, they're lifting like, a huge amount of weight, and then you're going to go in and go.
There are two main advice at the very beginning I can give. First of all, start from the isolated movement. Yeah, so something.
So machines rather than free weights.
Yeah, when only one joint works, in order to push blood, in order to push the liquid into your joints. And that's a very important, and at any age, that's where you have to start, because compound movement are very injury prone. So you have to be extremely careful. The second thing, you shouldn't copy the program from the Mr. Olympia, because they've got completely different hormone system. You will never look like that.
Why?
You will basically get yourself into like overtrained situation. It's fairly easy, and your nervous system will be completely destroyed. You just wouldn't enjoy it.
Can I take you back? So when you started going to the gym, obviously you were going a little bit, but when you got this discipline, what did you do? Did you actually look at the guy and think, yeah, I want to be Ronnie Coleman or whoever it was at the time? You must have been, there must have been other people in the gym because you said it was a rustic gym. But what did you do? Did you go in there and look at them and start copying them, or what did you actually start with? Because you've given us what you should do now, but that's obviously based on years and years, lots of years of experience. So when you started, when you got in the gym and got really motivated to do it, and that discipline building, what did you do?
So
How did you start in
I
that?
will abstract a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, and I will explain it in the next terms. When you start doing something really with the passion, there are some metamorphosis happens to you. Changes,
Okay.
basically. Metamorphosis happens to you when you start gathering people around who are interested in exactly the same thing. And that can be absolutely any type of activity. You can go and have a drink into the pub, and you will have a few friends in a few weeks
Who enjoy drinking too.
who enjoy drinking, exactly. You can
It's a little bit easier there than with Gym Bros.
Exactly. You can start a YouTube channel here, and you will find somebody who started YouTube channel as well.
Yeah.
So this is like a waves on the water, yeah.
Okay.
So whoever you are, you attract those people.
Yeah.
That's what happens to me. You start getting into it. You start getting friends who are interested into that as well, and that's when you have a synergy. That's when 1 + 1
So
is
you got your
equal
training
3.
buddy.
Yeah, exactly. I've got the friends, who are really interested into training. And all things, it's like a Lego. All things comes together: food, nutrition, and everything.
Did they bounce off you? Because was it friends you already had that bounced off you because you started? They looked at it for well, he's doing it. I want to do it too.
Yeah.
Or was it like they were already doing?
There are. I've got.
And you've connected to them.
I've got.
Or a mix.
I've started because of this situation.
Yeah.
Some people are started because of me. Yeah. And the problem is that they already finished with the training. That's what I said. That's the difference between discipline and motivation. I had a few friends who are really talented, who's got a really, really good potential, but this potential didn't get them anywhere because they wasn't commit enough. Because they
started training because of you. Yeah, but then that was their motivation. But then they didn't have the commitment and the discipline to continue.
They stopped.
Because their motivation wasn't as strong as yours. Thank you, Jackson.
Yeah.
Stepanenko.
Yeah, Jack Stepanenko is the best one.
Jack Stepanenko. Okay, yeah.
So that was the mind story, yeah, and that was.
But how did you know what to do? Because you can go to gym. How do you actually know what to do?
You
how did you learn that?
You start learning from all over the place, and YouTube is the first place to go. Then you start reading the books. Then you start basically watching Arnold films, etc., etc. So everybody has got exactly the same path. I was actually very inspired by Greg Plitt.
Okay,
he was
he's
fitness
aesthetic.
Yeah, he was a very fit.
He's very good physique.
Yeah, a very, very nice guy. Died completely stupid, but that's the life. That's the life.
I think if you shine so bright, then sometimes those candles go out fast.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's one of those things.
I couldn't believe after I read that. I couldn't believe, but anyway. Okay, yeah, that's the.
So that's how you got started in there.
Yeah,
and then so the learning you learned basically. So YouTube, obvious place now. And obviously, this is way more now than this was a little while ago when you've started. Books. How did you get the books? So, while you put on drink, and then obviously Arnold was a big thing. So there's well, here's a quick question, slightly off topic, but do you think that was the golden generation of bodybuilding in terms of the balance between the aesthetics and the size of Arnold's generation, or do you think now it's gone? It's better now because I'm of the opinion that was the balance between aesthetics and physique the size, whereas now I think they're a big, huge beasts. Impressive, but I don't think it's quite as good looking as it was in that time of that generation when Arnold was there and the other people around that time. What's your opinion on that?
I think that there is no good or bad times. The development of the supplements, development of the chemicals of the juice and chemical substance. It's all developed really, really fast. So it's
not that we're saying that any of them do that.
Yeah. They not. But
we don't know, so we're not saying that they are or they aren't.
What I'm trying to say that it's all depends on you. If you really want to be monster, you've got a way more opportunities and chances to do it, and way more information, because our knowledge sits on the shoulders.
There's more things available now to get bigger than there was. They were in that generation. They were still adding supplements, shall we say? But there's more supplements now. That means you can get a bigger size than you could then. My question's more, what do you think looks better aesthetically? Because my thing is that size, like Arnold's physique at that time and other people around that time, to me is like, what if I was thinking of I want to be an ideal man? That's what I'd want to look like.
That's the thing. You've got an option.
But that's my personal motivation. Obviously, other people can have different. So that's why I'm asking about yours. Is it to be? Would you, if you had the choice of being your ideal physique, is it like that, or is it like the bigger? The people who are now
mine is the
Mr. Olympias.
No, mine is the way more average.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but your question was like, which one which one looks better, etc., etc. You can look exactly like Arnold now if you committed enough. So it's not about it's not about time. It's about your personal. It's about your personal choice.
Yeah. That's why I'm asking your personal choice. Mine is I think that's like the golden generation, and I think now whilst it's like to me that's the essence of, like, if I want to put it in a way, artistic and scientific. And now I think it's more scientific than artistic. So it's not that I'm not impressed. These guys are fantastic. Guys and girls are fantastic. But I think in the, and it's a huge achievement. So you've still got to train like, really more than a beast. And you've got to take all the supplements and things. There's putting your life at risk and things as well. But, it's a really huge thing. So from the point of view of their commitment and their discipline, I'm hugely impressed. But for me, the one that looks the best, and that's just, like I said, my opinion, is that was the balance between the artistic and the scientific, is like up to like Arnold's age. That generation of things, they're all the bodies you just look and go,
yeah. I'm on your page. I think legs like 80 or whatever. That's too much. I think.
So it's not that I'm not impressed. It's just that's what I think it was the best. And now we've gone over the top of the hill, and now it's more like a science thing. So it's it's interesting and it's still good to watch, but it's like it's not so much for me. I like a bit of artistry, so I think there is the canvas. Okay, so you've got into let's roll back a bit and get back on topic.
Yeah. So I've got something.
Okay, go
on. So you start from the 3-day split, then you add other body parts, to basically saturate your training and make sure you are training all body parts. Personally, I am basically training 5 days a week when I'm training one body part per day.
But we should just say that's now, and now you've been training for more than 10 years?
14.
Yeah.
14, yeah.
You're getting old.
I've got this joke, by the way.
But you still look young.
Yeah. First 10 years training is quite, complicated. Afterwards, it's getting easier. So that's my.
Yeah, I remember a certain journey we had going to Golden Beach after when you were doing about 8 years or 9 years of training.
Yeah,
and nobody noticed you.
True.
That was a surreal experience because obviously you don't think of it. I wasn't thinking of it. You weren't, but we were looking and both of us noticed.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I'm training now one body part. The training itself takes a shorter period of time, so about 40-50 minutes. But because you are training 5 days a week,
you're stuck in a huge amount of volume of training, and you've obviously got to allow. So I've got a question. So from when you've started, obviously you've started about 1920ish, more serious training. Okay. When you started that training, because training is more than just what you're doing in the gym. What else? Did you realize about recovery at that time? Did you realize about diets at that time? Because those are huge parts of effective training. So what did you do at that time? And then obviously that's evolved now. So then we can go along with your journey of that, because there's getting to the gym, which you've said is the motivation part and the discipline part. So you had that part. So that's got you in the gym. You've done your training. You've learned your training from various bits and pieces, and obviously that must have evolved as you've gone along. But what did you do anything else? Did you take like any supplements? Did you start on your diet? Did you and your recovery? What did you know at that when you were 19, 20 when you started? Or was it nothing? And then
Unfortunately, in our library, we didn't have anything about Arnold, but I do remember I had a quite a thick book about biomechanics.
Okay.
That's my first reading about how muscle works and everything else.
Okay.
And when you're just starting, you are thinking that you can overtrain your lack of discipline in the kitchen, but it's not how it works. Because 1 hour in the gym is important, but 23 hours afterwards is the way more important.
Yeah.
So you start getting and see actually results only when you are change your diet habits as well. And that's the next thing I want to discuss.
Okay, so you've got to change all your lifestyle habits, basically. It's not just the one. Okay, so you got that. So then you've read and you've got the... So you understood that at that age as well? Or was it a little bit afterwards when you've started? When did you understand that?
It's like...
And then you can tell us what you're going to...
Yeah, you've got that's a foundation you have to build, and I didn't have anybody close to me who can explain all the things around.
We don't normally.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So you have to learn on your own, and by bits and pieces, and testing everything on yourself. That really helps.
But you've got that from the book, the initial bit that I need to modify my diet as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on. Then tell us your diet journey. Then.
So if again, I would start from the scratch. I wouldn't deep dive straight away into some hard mainstream diet. How I would do it from the very beginning. I would change, first of all, the protein intake to being constant throughout the day. So if I'm consuming, let's say 1.7 to 2 gram protein per day, it will be exactly the same amount each meal.
1.7 to 2 grams
per kilo.
Okay. Just to clarify.
Per meal.
For per day, I was thinking that's
per kilo,
not
per
really that much.
Per kilo, yeah. When in terms of carbs, I would basically have most amount of carbs in the morning, and it's slowed down to the 0 with the last meal. If I can, let's say, feed 3 meals into my schedule, the last meal will be without carb. And that's extremely important because when you go to the bed about 2 hours after you went sleep, growth hormone is basically getting your spike. And the problem here, if you ate something carby the meal before or before the bed, you will get insulin spike as well because insulin is correlated with the sugar level.
And that's then storing that carbs as fat.
They are insulin and growth hormone, they are antagonist, which means it's mess up your system, your recovery system, and as a result, it will mess up all your life.
Mm-hmm.
So all these diets has got something in common, which I will explain a little bit later.
But just to roll back a couple of things, because obviously you put quite a lot of information there, and that's more advanced, like how much protein per kilo, etc. But how did you start yours? Because you've changed your diet. You've started the training, then you've changed your diet. So what did you do in that? That's what I'm, most people starting going to be interested in that. So how did you get around to learning all these things? So where did you start with that?
So
you realized you need to change diet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from the book, normally you will find out that you've got 5 nutrients to work with. It's water, minerals and vitamins, carbs, carbohydrates, protein, and fat.
Fats. Yep.
That's the thing you work with, and you are now free to play with all of those components.
Well, most people have obviously know about fats, carbs, and protein because there's quite a lot about that. So you've added water. Well, hydration is usually known. The minerals and stuff.
Yeah. So
you knew this at 1920?
No, of course not. No. It's all from the books.
That's what you know now?
It's all from the blood panel as well.
Okay. So you've learned this going along. So when would you say you understood this? After 5 years of training, after 10 years of training?
I would say about 23, 24,
So
I already got really, really solid foundation.
Okay, so you did a lot of research on this?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're proper motivated and proper determined to do this thing, how to do it the best way. What was that though? What was the motivation behind the diet bit though? Was it to get the most out of what you were doing? Were you just that passionate about it that you deep dived into doing it?
To get any result, I would say, because without, it's not like, somebody will tell you let's say training 30% food and 40% rest or something like that. That's not how it works. They are all 100%. You
Okay.
have to be committed in all
of
these
those aspects.
variables
Okay.
if you want to get results. So I start to get in results, and don't forget it's a 20ish, so you've got a really good hormone system, you've got a really fast recovery, etc. But you still get in result only if you do everything 100%.
Okay, but obviously if you start fresh, so you're starting training, you're going to get a result anyway, whatever you do.
At the beginning,
pretty much.
Yeah.
So you got the shock of doing the training. Your body's got that shock properly. So you're doing your 3 times a week training. So you've got that bit. So you get that. Did you get muscle soreness and things like that? Or was it because of 20, you sort of get over these things quite quickly because you've got that bit. And like you said, you've got really good, everybody's got that. You've got the hormones still developing. You're still growing at that age because you don't really stop frame till about 25. I think height is about 21, isn't it? Roughly.
When your body stops to respond to the growth hormone, there is a sensors which are closing basically, and there is even hormonal disorder when these receptors is not closing and you keep growing always. But that's disorder.
That's So, but typically it's around about that age. Your height normally goes to about 20, 21. Your frame in a guy is normally about 25. So you've got that boost anyway in that age because you're sort of starting at the point where you're just going to stop growing. So you don't, alter that bit, and then you're going to fill out your frame. So it's a very good time. Most males should be training at that age, or everybody should be training at that age. Okay, so you've got that bit. So just to come back to then, but you've understood that diet is there, but you didn't know all the things. You've got that by 23, 24. So how did you get that from what I'm interested in is getting to from, you've started a diet journey at 0, basically. You're learning, because presumably before that you were just eating what was there. So from there to 23, 24, how did you change your diet? What did you do? How did you get, because obviously you must have gone from, normally whatever typical diet is to increasing the protein. Did you start drinking more water? What did you do? How did that, was there a complete shift, or did you evolve that over that first 3, 4, 5
After
years?
getting through the beginning stage, through the beginner stage, as I said, it's about like half a year, you are getting completely opposite. So your body is not responding to the training well, and that's another problem when you have
So
to
you get
change
to the
something.
plateau of the start, basically.
Yeah.
So you hit that first plateau, so go on. That's, I presume
That's where you have
I need to add something more here.
That's where you have to surprise your body. That's where you start basically paying more attention to the food, to feed more nutrients, and to the training as well.
Okay,
so
and that make it personal to yourself? So what did you do for your food?
So that's where I think I got as much knowledge as possible about food and about dieting as well.
Okay.
So that's the first step was, as I discussed, basically make sure I'm getting enough protein and fat, and also make sure that I've got a slope with the carbs.
And at that point, what protein did you start? Because obviously there's various numbers depending on what you read and what you look at. So what did you start with? Well, roughly, approximately, what weight were you around then? About 20-ish? Well, when you got this 2021?
About 80, 78, something like that.
70 kilos. Okay. So then how did you work out how much protein? What level of protein did you aim for there?
I tried
did you try
for
a
all
lot?
of these years. I've tried basically like up to 3.5 grams
Per kilo?
Yeah. I was eating
so that's
quite a lot. And my
200
weight
plus.
My weight was around. I was reaching even 100 kilo, but that's later. So basically, I tried different amount of protein.
So you actually experimented with the amounts.
Yeah.
Starting from, what was your lowest?
1.7, I believe that's sort of like for maintaining.
So about 100 and... Oh, no, that's more than that. About 150-ish to about 250-ish?
Yeah, it will be about...
So about 1.7 to up to 3. Okay. So that's a fairly wide range. Okay, so what did you find was the one that was your golden ticket?
About 2 grams will be absolutely fine. You don't have a problem with digestive or digestion system.
Yeah, both. Digestive system.
Digestive system. You don't have any issues with digestive system. In terms of carbs, again, you can vary from the 0 to something crazy like 6 or 7. That depends on the bulking stage or
so you got protein first, then what did you fix? Because you can obviously fix fats and carbs. So was carbs the next one?
Yeah, and that's where you have to be very clever.
Did you aim at a total, because there's obviously calories as well, did you aim at a total calories number, or were you just aiming, because if you get to that protein, that's quite a lot of protein, obviously. So then what did you do for the other food groups? How did you balance that? Or did you think about them at that time?
I didn't think, and I wouldn't, to be honest, I wouldn't even worry about calories. I would worry about grams protein, per
The
kilo.
macros,
Macros,
basically.
exactly.
Yeah.
Macros.
Okay.
That will be the starting point. In terms of fat, I played again from the 0, to 2-3 grams per kilo as well.
Okay.
So that's...
Well, fat has quite a lot of calories and satiation effect as well.
Yeah, very.
You feel full.
Exactly.
So how did you work that out? So what was your sort of optimal ratio? So you got to 2 grams per kilo of protein. How did you get to the balance between? Were you still having carbs or?
Yeah. Now.
No. When you were doing
back in the yes. The first diet. I basically, that's what I mentioned. When you've got a slope, when you go slope with the carbs and you static with the protein.
You top up the carbs. You've got your protein throughout the day, which was aiming at approximately 2. Obviously, you experimented with that. And then how much fat approximately with that?
About 2 grams, I believe.
As well. So you got the protein, the fat, and then carbs was just number or just to fill up, to make the food eatable, edible?
First of all, I got rid of everything like artificial and fast carb. Fast carbs, basically...
So sweet sugars and all the pastries things, okay.
That's junk food, which we don't need.
But were you a fan of that before?
Yeah.
So how did you motivate yourself or commit yourself to getting rid of it?
By results. That's the thing. So discipline it's a closed circle. So the first initial kick, it's motivation. Afterwards, it's a discipline. And the next step, discipline, is actually creates a motivation again. Because you are getting a visual response, you actually see results.
So you top up the motivation with when you see that visual result. So your driver for getting rid of the bad carbs or whatever, the fast carbs is, we'll say, because we shouldn't really judge good, bad or whatever. The fast carbs was that I'm getting a result here. Judgmental.
That's getting really...
Sorry for the woke moment.
We shouldn't judge carbs. Sorry, that's just cool. Good event.
Come on, we're trying to be smooth,
How
professional.
good is your carbs?
Yeah.
It's like an ocean.
Well, if we're making assumptions, then, so it's fast absorbing carbs, so the fast digesting carbs, which are stuffs like sugar, etc. So your motivation for getting rid of them was that, or the kicker re-motivating yourself to the discipline there was, wait a minute, I'm getting results here, and I want to keep getting results, so I can keep off this, I will keep getting results. Is that
it's opposite from what it was at the beginning, because people start noticing and mention that as well, and that works as a positive motivation, and that creates a synergy when you
so you've got your positive motivation cycle. That's feedback loop.
I just realized that in fact you are a machine which reprocesses negative motivation to positive. That's it. Negative hormones to good
not
hormones.
Everybody does that, isn't it? So that's why and then like we said, the start is easy. Everybody gets the motivation. There's all going to be these people on January the 1st that have this motivation, but then it's, notice it declines. So it's, how do we keep it going? So you've got the carb one, you got in the fast carb, so you're still having slow carbs, so things like
rice, buckwheat, that's the main source. You need it because you need to refill your glycogen depot in the liver and in your muscle as well.
Okay, so but you were doing at the time what you recommend now, which is top it in the early part of the day.
Yeah.
And that also fuels your workouts and whatever else you're doing. Your protein you spread out over the thing, and the fats you just spread out as the balance your meal of protein.
Yes, it says fats normally goes with the protein, so you can spread out.
And all right, jumping forward, and why do you want to have fats? What do they do? Because protein, everybody knows, is protein is protein. What's the reason that you want to keep fats? Because fats have obviously been demonized in past things. I think they're a little bit coming back now. And because carbs, it was like carbs was being pushed and fats were being demonized. But we sort of, the current understanding, I think that's not the case. Do you want to expand on the fats part? Why are fats good?
I wouldn't jump too deep into
just
the bad and good cholesterol about LDL level, etc. That's everything you will discuss with different
people. Yeah.
I
think that's for another episode.
But I can basically give a very brief and tell that fat is actually metabolized to every hormone in our body. It's our skin, it's our eyes, it's our hair, and it's our hormones as well. Because in fact, testosterone is produced from cholesterol. So fats are extremely important. Get rid of fat and you will see the very destructive results on your skin, on your body, on everything, on your mood, etc.
So why do we have all these things with like low fat?
Because
Other than people trying to make money, but like, is there any benefit in that, or
in the low fat, obviously, fat are really calorie dense and nutrition dense as well.
Over twice as much per gram.
Nine.
It's
Basically.
9 opposed to 4 and 4 or whatever.
And the industry is doing it today in order to sell more sugar, because sugar in absolutely everything, and it's a way easier to refill. It's a way easier than fat. Even if you don't know you are consuming sugar in seasoning, you are consuming sugar in sauces, it's absolutely everywhere. Even things which you think is salty, it's still sugar. That's why. But fat is like necessity, absolute necessity.
Okay, and then and in terms of carbs, is there a magic number? Like, if it's 2 grams per kilo of protein, it's approximately 2 grams per kilo of fat.
This is like
what's the carbs thing? Is that adjustable depending on?
Again,
another
as
thing
I said,
we probably need to do an episode because there's different body types.
Yeah, it's like a mixtures. You have to play with everything to find your point. It's called homeostasis. It's a stable point where your body constitution and your body weight is not changing.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the homeostasis. After finding out that point, you will be able to readjust everything and see how it's respond. Okay. For some people, it's actually quite dramatic. So you have to basically either put yourself in quite dramatic deficit, about like 50% or 60%, in order to push your body out of homeostasis and see actually like drop weight or gain in weight or whatever. But that's all completely personal.
But I take it that's more. So you've got the beginner level, which is your 6 months, get your commitment to doing it. Then it's sorting out your diet. So, and there's a rough guide diet, obviously you can do more, but then that diet needs to be customized to yourself, which is more. Then would you say then you're getting to intermediate level, because you've got past the commitment of training? This is then the tweaking your diet. Obviously you'll be tweaking training as well, because you'll add in, like you said, you can add the other muscle groups in, balancing with those the 3-day split, or you can, depending, you may add more days of training in because your recovery is better, etc. So you've got your diet part coming, that tweaks. So you can use a guideline, but basically your point is that should be customized to yourself, because everybody is different on what they do, what they can process, what they can do, what the body needs. The recovery, what would you say about recovery? What did you learn about recovery at the beginning? Obviously in 20s, it's not a huge thing.
Let's jump to recovery a little bit later. Okay. I want to expand a little bit on the diet.
Okay, yeah.
So as you said, we are reaching intermediate state. That's where we can play with our diet. And the second basically thing I would recommend is intermittent fasting.
Okay.
So I would basically order them from simplicity, to basically the first one is the sort of like a simplest thing you can change in your already existing diet. Okay. The second thing would be intermittent fasting.
Okay.
The main idea, as it said...
Shall I explain intermittent fasting first for people who don't know what it is?
Go on.
Yeah. Quick guide to intermittent fasting, as the words say. Fasting is obviously not consuming any calories. It's not eating. And intermittent fasting is not doing it. You do it on a certain time scale. So one of the more common ones is like 16 hours fasting and 8 hours eating time, in which window in which you can eat or consume all your calories in. And then obviously you can vary that depending again on what you do. Go on. So continue.
Yeah, that's the main idea. And they also, as I said, they all have something in common. And all diets, and what they've got in common is their level of insulin. They're all trying to decrease level of insulin. Okay. It doesn't matter what you consume.
Intentionally, or is it a byproduct?
That's because that's given results.
Okay.
That's it. Because insulin, it's like a most powerful anabolic hormone, and it's completely opposite to the fat burning or muscle burning. So the higher insulin level you've got, the less chances that you will start burning anything.
Okay.
So the idea, as you said, is to have in a window when you're eating and to extend your fasting during the nighttime, 8 hours. Yeah, you extend it to 12, 16 or whatever. Mm-hmm. So let's say if you're starting to eat from 12, it's fairly simple because you're not eating in the first part of the day, and you start from 12 to 8, for instance, But you have to be extremely careful because you have a shorter window, which means you have to be extremely careful with your macros and wise with your macros. You have to make sure that you are eating all nutrients. You are not adding like a junk food. You don't have cravings and things like that. So exactly the same rule as I mentioned from the first approach will be to reduce carbs to the evening time for the reason of having high insulin and low growth hormone during the nighttime. You should be avoiding that.
So you should be keeping carbs still in the morning time when you start?
Yeah, when you start.
So you keep the same idea as you had basically at the beginning. Is
slow.
So you keep the same split, but in intermittent fasting, do you still want to keep your calories? So say if your required calories for what your normal is 2,000 for a number, do you still want to get those 2,000 calories in within that window?
Yeah.
So is that what you're saying then? And you should try and avoid like the junk food, because obviously junk food you can get 1,000 calories like that. So how do you get that sorted? How do you get, because that's quite a lot of food to consume in. If you're eating, one of the things I've noticed, and it's probably I've always want to ask, is if you eat junk food. So say if you go and get a burger from a burger joint or thing, and you get fries and your soft drink, that's like can be more than 1,000 calories in one hit. But if you're eating healthy food, it's quite hard to get a lot of all the macros and things in because it doesn't have so much filler. So, if you're eating a chicken breast and your rice and your other bits, a piece of vegetables and whatever else to get your nutrients, you need to eat quite a lot. How does that work? How can you keep it there? How did you do it?
It's all about calories density.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's all about the fact that the junk food normally is messing up your insulin level. So insulin level will jump really high because the sugar level is really high. But on the other side, the spike next to the spike, you will get a really slow down. That's where you start feeling hungry when you're not, because your body is trying to compensate insulin level, high sugar level with the insulin level, and trying to get as much as possible. But it's all like inertia; it's not happening at the same time. Okay. So you're getting more. At some point, you will get a lower level than you had before this junk meal.
Okay.
And that's the issue with the slower carbs, with the, let's call it right food or good food. So basically food which doesn't have insulin response.
Okay.
So fat has got a very little insulin response. Then you have a protein, and then you have a slow carbs. By saying slow, I mean something which has got a low glycemic index. So when
they basically digest over a longer time. Release their energy over slow time, and because you got to break down that bigger. It's slow carbs is basically bigger molecules of carbs, so they break down over a longer time than like what is the sugar that's really fast.
You can take just sugar.
Any sugar,
sugar will work.
But there's even a faster one that's a really small chain.
Maltodextrin.
Yeah, maltodextrin, which is like
120 glycemic index.
Yeah. So it's basically stuff that it takes longer to break down. So your release of that, like carbs, is over a longer period of time, as opposed to the maltodextrin,
and there is no spikes,
which is okay. Just for people who don't know, so just to explain it out.
So that's the second step, and the main idea here is fairly simple. The idea is that you've got a glycemic storage into your muscle and into your liver. And normally, if you're not super active, you need 5 to 8 hours in order to completely deplete
glycogen stores.
Into liver. And that's where all of benefits of intermittent fasting kicks in. That's where your body starts to use fat as a source of energy.
Okay.
So we dissolve it to the fatty acids, which afterwards can be used by your muscle fibers from the blood vessel, from the blood stream, basically. That's why it's a way easier to burn fat on intermittent fasting, because you don't have this insulin spikes, and
because you basically used up your glycogen reserves, and then the body goes, wait, I need something else. Yeah. What have I got around here?
Fat.
Okay.
Fat. And again, single molecule of the fat has got a 9 kilocalories. So in this case, you've got quite a lot of energy.
Okay.
100 grams of fat, you can...
And then the timing scales, how does that work? Is that another thing that you need to experiment, or is there now, because there's a fair amount of like work and things on intermittent fasting, it's been around for a little while. Is that split different for different goals, or is it different for different people's body types? The 16, 8, 12, whatever. How does that in a brief summary, because obviously, like I think we should do a deep dive on this when we have in another episode. But
I think, I would recommend basically attach it to your schedule, because we all have got a quite busy schedule, etc. So everything should be balanced between your work and between your desire of socializing. Because if you have, let's say, 4 hours, 8 o'clock in the morning to 12, you wouldn't enjoy the meal with your family, at home, etc., etc. So it's a complex question, and you have to readjust for yourself. The main thing, you have to avoid carbs at the nighttime, and have this window, let's say 8 or 4 hours, depends on your preference, depends on your approach.
So it's basically what fits in with your lifestyle and you can stick to, isn't it? So again, the commitment thing, because there's no point. One of the things with always diets is that they can work in the shock effect, but how do you stick to them? Because some of the, there's lots of other diets, and you think, well, how are you going to stick to it long term? Because at the end of the day, you want to do something. It's better to be more gradual and stick to it than be. It's the same as going training, and you can have one day where you kill yourself in the gym, drift everything, and then you can't walk or move for 2 weeks. And then you're not going to have that same motivation to go again. Whereas you could have gone in that 2 weeks for every other day, but just done a reasonable amount. So it's the same with diets. It's not be drastic, other than if you've got a goal. Obviously, if this is a specific reason, it's be gradual. Would you say, or?
Yeah.
And then fit the timing around what is suitable within your lifestyle that you're going to stick to and that you can actually do. But it doesn't mean you're not missing your meals with your children or your partner or whatever else. Or if you've got a social calendar that you can't eat during that time.
The other thing which I want to mention is that sometimes you are, human being. So if you go off the rail, not you, me. But, so if you go off the rail, and
for
if
you mortals,
if let's say you go off the rail and you had a junk food or had a rice or meal or whatever with with the things you shouldn't eat, there is nothing bad about that. You've got another day to start over. So it's not an excuse. It's not something like everything fell down, Empire State Building. No, you have to start over.
Interesting thing I've seen, because there's these, you've probably seen as well, there's YouTubers who have like eating challenges. But there's a couple that I've seen, a lady and a guy, and they're like, the lady works out, so she looks fit.
Beard meat food or something.
And beard meat, his one. And they're like, because one of the questions of you gets is, how do you stay so much in, like slim, relatively good shape? And he's like, but I don't eat this all the time. So when he's on a food challenge and it may be like 6,000 calories, he's balancing that out over his week or whatever it is. So then you eat less on the other bits, isn't it? You say that's good advice?
I've seen an episode when he actually explained and answered that question, and the answer was exactly what you mentioned. So basically, it's all about creating deficit. He's training also, and he's got fantastic beard, which helps to burn more calories. But the main thing is that he's balancing those calories, and he will have deficit anyway. So that's
he's balancing it out. It's about balance, as you said, isn't it? And then the same for the lady that they can eat like a load in one go, but then they're balancing that out over other things. It's not just they're not doing that every day. Going through. Then it wouldn't quite work, I think. Okay.
So that's the second step. And the last, I should say, most advanced step is to go in completely carnivore.
Okay.
It's a very simple diet. It's quite tricky at the very beginning to stick with, but it's a very simple diet. You can eat meat. You have to avoid plant food. You can eat meat, fatty food. You have to avoid everything artificial. So everything which has got a really fancy packaging, sauces as well. Meat, fatty meat, salt, and water. That's it. And the cool thing about that you don't need to have some specific windows, something like that. You can eat when you want to, And if meat doesn't taste good, that means you are full already. Or if you started to eat and meat doesn't taste good, that means you are not hungry enough. That's it. And everything will balance out. So it's a very, very simple in terms of like approach. What type of meat you have to eat, etc. There is no specific limitation from that perspective. You can eat whatever meat suits you, whatever meat makes you feel good.
But I presume in that if you're eating it, you've also got to have fatty meat as well, not just lean meat, because you've got to get you. So you're balancing your fats and your protein. But in that diet, then you're not doing any carbs at all.
No, you're not doing carbs, and you're not doing plants as well.
Okay. Why? Like plants, I take it you mean vegetables and everything else as well. So you don't eat anything else, just meat of various types, and then preferably add in the fat, make sure you get enough fat as well. So is it like a 50-50 balance between the protein or the meat level and the fats, or can you vary that as well, or is it just how do you work out how much you want to eat, or is it like you just said, you just do it? Is it as simple as you start eating, and when it doesn't taste nice, you stop, and if you start eating and like you said, it doesn't taste nice, then you haven't done enough training.
If you really deep dive into it, the basically stool is the very good sign. If you've got like it's basically can vary from constipation to diarrhea. And if you've got right, okay,
you're
let's say
this podcast to that level.
That's the sign basically. If everything is okay, that means you are eating enough fat.
Okay.
If you've got problem with that means you are not eating enough fat. Okay. So in terms of fat, that's how you can balance.
Does it matter what kind of meat? Is that more beneficial with like eating steak and stuff because it's a bit more fatty? Or because say if you don't like red meats, like certain people don't, then how would you balance that out? Is that still include like fish and eggs and things like that?
Exactly. And it depends on your choice. You can eat organs as well. They are very dense in terms of like nutrients, so like and
kidneys and things like this.
Yeah, but that's your choice. And the thing is, they are even over, let's say, saturated in terms of minerals and vitamins. You can get not hyper, but hyper vitamin. You have to check.
Okay.
They are very, very dense from that perspective. That's a very brief.
So the advanced level is the carnivore.
Get into carnivore.
But what would you say?
The other thing that if you quite a long time on this diet, and if you had even rice, even simple carbs,
okay,
your body is basically after a specific period of time, your body producing less enzymes, which are digest carbs, so you can get like bloated and feel really bad for next like 3 or 4 days.
Like a small amount of carbs,
and slow carbs as well.
Okay.
I experienced that. You feel really... what I like about this diet, that first of all, it's fairly simple.
Okay.
It works really, really well in terms of your body constitution will change really fast. You will forget about things like a brain fog at all. Your cognitive, basically response between external action and your reaction, this delay is getting really, really small. You always sort of like in high alert thing. That's back to our roots, when all hormone testosterone and the growth hormone will be on quite high level because insulin level is constantly low. Unless you've got some disorder, because doesn't matter which type of meals you are consuming, insulin level you will get some spikes anyway, but the spike will be, if you don't have any issues, the spike will be really, really low.
Would you say this, because I've actually heard a similar, not maybe pure carnivore, but a similar type of diet. We speaking with somebody who's a diabetic, and they had issues and they were supposed to have like insulin injections and stuff like that, and he goes, because they were the inquisitive type, they started reading around, looking at other things, because the doctors weren't really, I don't know if it's the doctor's fault, but the traditional, method of doing it was problematic for them. And I think they went on that sort of diet, and it's, they've got off they don't need insulin injections and stuff more. I don't know whether that's just an anecdotal tale, but it sounds like if you balance out your insulin, then that would, if it's balancing out and staying at a reasonable level, they wouldn't have that issue.
If you got diabetes, this type intermittent fasting and carnivore can help to basically control insulin and control this disease. If you pre-diabetes, if you diabetes, like things like, let's say, intermittent fasting, obviously there are some type of people who are, not desired, let's say, to have this diet. If you got like a food disorder, if you like a pregnant woman or something like that, then you have to keep an eye on it.
You have to be sensible in
exactly.
And it's the goal and looking at what it's balancing out with. But what if you don't eat meat?
If you don't eat meat at all.
So how do you do the carnivore diet if you don't eat meat?
I don't think it will work for you then.
Is it possible?
Yeah, I don't think so.
But I've seen these packets of things in the freezer where they're like, vegan sausages.
No.
Can I not use that? No, okay.
The thing is that plant-based food, like let's say fiber or something, it's not digestive completely. So your always body is trying to get rid of.
But you get told that you should have fiber to help you with digestion and things. Is that not?
That's if you wanna go really deep into that topic. You need
Not
to
at this
speak.
moment in time.
Yeah. We already
We're already
went
deep into a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Right. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have for the starter. Enough food for thought. Enough things to research.
Well, yeah, I think it's useful, but I'd like to keep it a bit more personal on you. So you've learned about the training. Okay, you've given the reason why you've done that. Diet, you've looked around the books you had available or the information you had available. And then obviously you've evolved it now as you have more information and more things. So did you ever think about recovery when you started? So not now, but when you were like 20, wasn't an issue?
At all.
And then did you always stick to when you started, you did the 3-day thing for like 6 months. Did you change that or did you just keep,
I added
how did that evolve over the time? Because the other thing you can do is you can plateau when you just do the same thing, isn't it? As well, it can get a bit boring or, the motivation can get less because obviously you're seeing results, you will, but your body's going to plateau because you need to obviously at some point change. So if you fixed your, the training part, so you've added that bit, you knew about diet, so you've added in things because you're not a big, like red meat fan for whatever reason. I won't ask you why, but like, so for your diet, did you get the protein sources as chicken, fish,
fatty fish,
salmon and stuff, so fatty fish and eggs and stuff, I take it as well.
Yeah.
But chicken's quite lean if you eat chicken breast, which is obviously one of the things. So how did you get enough fat?
Chicken thighs, butter.
Oh, so you added them as well.
Very important source as well.
Okay, so you don't use like canola oil and stuff?
No.
What? It's so cheap. Okay.
The other thing I forgotten to mention, water. Have I mentioned?
Well, we mentioned hydration. I was just going to come on to it because there's, to get to the diet bit, then the two other things you mentioned was water, so hydration, and minerals. So if you're not eating red meat, and I take it you're not a big fan of like organs and stuff then, because if you don't eat red meat, I don't think you'll be able to take organs. I can eat a little bit of red meat, but I'm not an organ fan either. So how did you get them? So hydration, because obviously the recommended amount of water varies who you ask, but it's in liters and liters and liters of water. So how did you get that in? Because one of the main things, if you drink loads of water, you want to go to the bathroom all the time.
Yeah.
It's a bit annoying.
Yeah.
And then also it's no taste. So even good water, like the one we've got here, is, you can drink quite a lot of it, but if you're eating or doing something, but like by itself, just sitting there drinking, it becomes a bit like boring after a while. What did you do on that part? But let's do the hydration first, then we'll do the minerals.
At the very beginning, it was a question for me as well, how to basically drink, when drink, how much is drink.
And how much did you think was the good amount at the beginning when you started? Not now, but when you...
When you just started, you have to... It depends again on your weight and everything, but I would recommend to have a 1 liter per 30 kilos. So in my case, it's about 3 liters.
3 liters.
It's about 3 liters. But the very important thing, which I learned...
When did you know it was 3 liters or thereabouts? Did you know that at the beginning? Have you worked that out later on?
I read it.
Early on?
No. It was later on. I was drinking, I think, excessively way more, but it's creating quite a big issue when you want to reduce your urine during the nighttime.
Yeah,
and that's the issue because once you get into this REM deep sleep, that's what
you don't want to be getting out of bed.
You don't want to interrupt. So I would recommend. In my cases, I'm trying to drink 2/3 before 12 o'clock and have this liter or more than the liter around the workout. So that's how you can reduce and have a deep sleep.
But just drinking water?
The drinking water, as you mentioned, it's quite boring. I'm adding BCAA, and that creates some flavor. You can even have a BCAA with the different taste and basically changing it each day. So it's
like
not getting boring.
Squashes, but it's doing you some benefit. Okay, and then the other thing you mentioned is the minerals and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you're not eating like kidneys and livers and blah, 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 is that they're good for some people. So how do you balance that out?
So first of all, if you are drinking this amount of water, you have to
because you're also depleting.
Yeah, water, dissolvable minerals and vitamins.
Yes.
That's the first thing you have to refill. In terms of vitamins, it will be B group, B6, B12. It will be thiamine. It will be folate. It will be riboflavin. in terms of
all the sort of normal minerals and things.
vitamin C as
vitamins,
well.
sorry, I meant to say.
Vitamin C as well.
Yeah.
And also magnesium in order to avoid cramps, in order to have your brain works function okay. Zinc as well. You don't have this problem if you are eating red meat.
Okay.
But in my case, I had
But you're
to,
not so grum. So how did you get over?
I just eaten it externally, and also I had
so
the
like
blood.
multivitamin tablets or specific ones for which you top. How did you know what to take in that? Did you just start with multivitamins and then And then
normally
how has that
I'm
evolved
taking
over your
I'm
schedule
taking
of time?
more than it's advised, because normally it's for a person with the average activity or no activity at all. So I will have a more.
Well, yeah, that's the thing that it says, recommended daily amount. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We're not normal.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm normal.
Yeah.
So how did you evolve? But when you started, did you know that? Did you start taking that as supplement straight away? Okay.
No. First you just drive,
5
and then
years,
afterwards you
4
realize
years.
you need petrol.
yeah, okay. So after a period of time, or did like the exercise start getting harder, or you realize there's more recovery needed, or?
You are reaching the point where you're trying to expand. It's like doing YouTube. You are trying to find a way how you can improve and get in more result with putting less effort.
Okay.
And brain normally helps in this case. So basically,
Sometimes.
you are reading and consuming as much information as possible.
Okay, so that's something you've added later on in life. Mm-hmm. So now you would say it's add those things, and then again it depends on your body weight, composition, size.
The best way will be to go and basically do a blood panel on the vitamins, and it will show everything. And in this case, you
what
can
you're good, what you're weaker, and things. But does that change with your diet? Because obviously, a lot of these they say come out of vegetables and stuff like that, or is that not correct? They have lots of nutrients. Vitamin C is supposed to be like citric type fruits.
There
and
are
stuff.
as well, but you can get all required micronutrients from the meat itself, from the organs, instead from the carnivore. After I basically did my blood panel, I had no issue except vitamin D.
Okay.
That was the issue, so I added 4,000 MU.
You need to spend some more time in the sun.
Where?
You're in Britain, as I told you.
On the Golden
This is the
Beach.
weird weather. Yeah, Golden Beach, that's where you need to be to recover. Okay, so yeah, for Britain weather, you needed to top up your vitamin D. Okay, so you just then add that in as a supplement in that. And then in terms of amounts, because like you said, there's RDA, but
what multiplied 1.2,
1.2,
1.5, you won't get any harm, because that's what I think before I did my first blood test, I was taking it for about 7 years.
Okay.
So, and I didn't have any harm. So I checked, everything was just the right amount, despite the fact I was taking always 1.2, 1.5 of recommended dosage.
Okay.
Because you're driving faster, you have to spend more fuel.
Unfortunately, yeah. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
It works that way. But is that amount also because I think if you read the actual small print of it, RDA is for like somebody who's 70 kilos, average person thing. So you just work it out from there. So if you're 100, it's approximately 1.5. If you're 80, 90, it's 1.2, whatever, 1.3, whatever the numbers are. And if you're 140, I take it, it's 2 times.
They taken basically a normal extrapolation, which is like this RDA is about 95% of population.
Yeah.
So, obviously, at the
you're
specific
at the extremes.
Not like completely extremes, but I believe if you like outside of the 80, 70%, you have to do some changes, definitely.
You have to modify to suit. Okie doke. And the same with calories you don't really look at, do you, for things? Calories. Do you have a calorie count or do anything, or is it more?
Not really. I do remember I tried that thing, but not really. I think macros is the way simpler
and better way of doing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And what would you say the most important?
Why it's important? Because you can say about you can hear all over the place about calorie deficit. So if you spend it more, then you will lose the fat. You will lose fat. But the problem is not all calories are equal. So let's say 1,000 from the fries and 1,000 from the broccoli, will have completely different insulin response into your body.
Okay.
And that's extremely important to don't have this spike. So that's why you have to watch the quality of those macros rather than calories.
Okay, so
that's
macros would be more recommended than watching calories in that. Then, I had the question and it's just gone.
Rest. Recovery.
Yeah, recovery.
Yeah, that's the last topic. Let's cover.
So when did you realize the recovery was a thing that you need to add? Was it after you've tweaked all the others, and then it's like you said, it's the incremental steps of your improving? So you do your training, you've got your diet, and then add in. Was it when it actually started hurting and you needed to recover? Because obviously that's a thing I notice. You get older, it's a bit more. It takes a bit more. You have to think a bit more about recovery, or was it just something you hit, like as a thing as you've been reading and stuff, you've just added in?
I didn't reach the point, I think.
You're still too young.
I didn't reach the point in my life where I actually don't have enough time to recover. Still, if I have a heavy leg training after one day, I will feel like I'm sore, but not that much. But what actually extremely affects me, it's a nervous system. So I can't sleep, which means that I can't have a workout afterwards. So even now
So it's not the muscle soreness so much as it's your nervous system is more. What are you doing here? I need some rest.
Yeah, you always at that stage, and it's really if you won't sleep, that means next day you won't have a proper workout, and it's all cycle interrupted.
Well, it affects your whole day, isn't it? Because you also, if you're doing like brain work, it's your whole rather than
Plus, as I said, all of these variables like training, they all 100%. And if you lose sleep, that means you won't recover. That means that's all doesn't make sense because you just destroying, because you will get a quite high level of cortisol without sleeping, and you're destroying your body. So even now, I'm using some pills basically to go sleep.
So make sure you get your rest in as well, and then do. Okay. Every time if you're training like 5 days a week where you just think, I need to have a little bit of a break here, or is it?
You can have.
That's
a break.
For now. Like
what I noticed basically that if you do,
or do you need to have those?
It's all depends on you. At some point you will feel right. Okay, I need to rest. I believe if you already a trained person and you already you are experiencing the training. You can do basically 2-3 weeks of pause without any issues at all. You get back on the track, fairly simple. But if you do more, obviously, take it easy and slowly. Do a few days of circuits, and afterward jump to your normal.
You've got to build back into the exercise instead of going thinking because obviously when you go the first time after a little bit of a break, Jim, your bodies can actually do quite a lot, but then you are dead for about a week afterwards.
Your nervous system is fully recovered. Your muscles is ready. Your muscles are completely ready to basically do all work which is in your head, but joints not. They always behind. Another
question. So say if you're ill, obviously there's different levels of illness, but an illness where you're struggling to it's fogging your brain a bit and you're not there. Should you still train or train with a lighter intensity, like do a bit of cardio and other things, or light, pushing the blood, because pushing blood is always nice? Or should you have that rest? Or does that depend on where your central nervous system is in that cycle? Because say if you've been training hard for, say, a month anyway, and your central nervous system is a bit mashed, and then you get an illness, then is it like, okay, I can have a rest for whatever it is, few days, a week to recover? What would you say in that? Or is it like one of those where you just deal with it at the moment, or is there some general advice?
The most important sign is your body temperature. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If your body temperature is high, that means your body is already fighting with the infection.
Okay.
So let's say if I've got a float point unit of energy, let's say 1.0, that means that 0.5, 0.7 is already used, and my body is trying to recover, from the illness. At that period, at that stage, I would basically get completely rest.
Okay.
But if you're on the down of the slope of any like a fever or whatever, if you don't have a temperature, if you've had like nose or something like that, I'm normally not paying attention and basically keep training. And what I noticed that it actually improves the recovery speed. So when you train, and it speeds everything.
Okay.
And including, fever or whatever called itself.
Yeah, so it's the initial bit of where you're stronger, but once you're getting over the hill, then it's useful to add in, whether you add it slowly or faster or whatever, add the training. Interesting. Cool. Any other advice I think you've had? Because we've been talking for quite a while, so I think we should have a break and save it for some other episodes.
That's it. I think that's more than enough information for the very, very beginner.
Village boy to trainer.
Yeah. We started from the bottom, now we're here.
It's a good journey.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of other things that I'd like to ask, but I think we leave it there and we can save it for some other episodes. Thank you, Igor. Very informative and very interesting journey that you've been on.
That's all I have for you.
So subscribe, tell us what you think. Are you, any vegan carnivores? I would like to hear from you.
Fight.
And the usual stuff. And we'll see you in the next episode. I think we will be, amongst our sports one, we'll probably expand on some of these topics because there's a huge amount in this, in fitness, in diet, and in all those kind of things, and lifestyle. Okay, thank you very much, listeners.
Thanks.
See you in the next one.
Doors, I'm a fool for your love.